pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good afternoon and welcome everybody to the March 17th meeting of the Chatham County Board of Elections. We have more than the usual complement of folks in the audience today. Welcome to y'all who haven't been here before. Going to call this meeting to order. All 5 board members are present. We have a quorum. And as is our custom, first item up on our agenda is to approve the agenda for today.
Approved. Move approved.
Second. Thank you. Draft minutes of last Friday's meeting were circulated to the board. Presumably everybody has had a chance to review them. Would you like a moment to review? If not, well, if not, do we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes from March 13th?
We approved the minutes from the March 13th and this meeting.
Go a second. Right, thank you. All in favor, say aye. Thank you, everybody. Okay, we are now at the moment in our meetings where we are back to our normal business meetings. We've gotten out of election season and counting absentee ballots, and this is our opportunity for public inputs. Does anybody in the audience have any comment on the issues they want to address? And if so, happy to have you address us. Please identify yourself. Let us know if you're a registered voter in Chatham County, what topic you want to address.
My name is Lori Beagle, I'm in North Williams precinct, and I'm a voter. What?
Can you come here?
Do I have to get up there?
Yep.
Yes.
You're on TV.
Anyway, my question is, I work the the polls for the early voting and election day, and it must have been the meeting back in maybe November, December. We sat at the wall discussing the precincts and who was going to be the chief judge, based on were they eligible to do it, did they have experience, this whole thing went back and forth. And when I am, Robert Walter was the one who was selected as chief judge. Yet when I worked on all the early elections, I only saw him as chief judge once or twice, and several people I didn't know were being the chief judge, and he may have been like the Democratic judge, or the regular judges, the party judges. So why do you do all that vetting and discussion if the people he elected, or the people you elected to sit in those positions, aren't actually sitting in those positions? Why was he not the chief judge every time he worked?
Because people rotate, and they're not chosen to be the same judge at the same location every time. Other people, there are other chiefs, there are other judges.
But didn't you only elected for the North?
That was election day.
That was strictly for election day?
Yeah, there really is only a North Williams precinct on election day when any. Was it deep? Where
I
did
was
you?
at the community college mostly.
The community college, yeah, those are just early voting locations. And those judge appointments are handled on a day-to-day basis as needed. The staff usually appoints that.
Right, because when I
Unless the
signed
people
up, I
that we
kept
don't
seeing all
approve.
these other names.
But no,
We don't,
we
for
don't
early
have a
voting.
fixed chief judge and party judges for all of the early voting. It's all fixed at election day. You have a chief judge and
just for election day.
just for election day. The other people were approved, but they're approved as a group. And each day the staff assigns judges to the early voting locations based on who is available. So
Because nobody could answer the question how early voting, and that's why we were just curious to.
Actually, the judges, they actually pick the dates that they work. Am I correct?
Yes, they sign up.
They sign up. So whatever days they sign up for is when they're available. But
what you
there,
did to make sure people were legal and valid and everything else is only for election.
yeah, well, the parties, appoint those people. They're appointed for 2 years. Those judges and the chief judge are appointed 2 years on election day. Early voting judges and the chief judges are appointed for every election. So in November, there may be some different judges.
No, that's fine. It was just when we asked the
Yeah.
question, a couple of us went, why?
Yeah,
Nobody could
and
answer.
then too, they work,
The
most of
rules
them,
changed.
work half shifts. You know, they work a half a day.
Correct.
So it switches off. Now, very rarely that you have somebody work the full day. That's, those are long hours.
Like Margaret used to do.
Yes, yes.
She went home to eat and came back.
So you probably understand this, but maybe the rest of us does. Early voting is at minimum 15 days. And a lot of chief judges don't want to work 15 days straight. So they rotate the duty. And some will work half days and another work, so it my
No, my point was,
election day is different.
Robert was a party judge one day when he was working and chief judge the next. So why, if he was elected chief, didn't he always work chief when he was there?
I don't know.
That depends on the need at the time at the polling place, because there was a lot of people who served as a chief and a judge.
If you wanted to work that day, but somebody else had already, who was qualified to be a chief judge, had already signed up for that shift as chief judge.
So you're saying this was all just
He
for
would
election
sign
day?
up as a part
That's for
during
that's a-
early vote.
When you went, you said just election. Fine. Okay.
You're welcome.
Sir? Yeah,
So my name is Joe Pittman. I've been registered voter in Chatham County about 15 years, and North Carolina for about 25 years. My general concern is about the potential for ICE to impact on people's comfort level coming to the polls. I voted in the primary at the community college. I had a conversation with the fellow who was overseeing the people working at the polls. And I said, well, what happens if I shows up? And he said, well, I'll immediately call the sheriff. And the thought occurred to me that that's probably too late. That's going to be on the news. That's almost certainly going to impact people's behavior. And he said, well, they have to stay a certain distance from the polls, from the community college campus. And I don't think they have to be on the campus to impact the polls. I think if they're sitting down on like 15-1, they're going to alter people's behavior. And I don't think we're talking about just people that are the most at risk for being kind of aggressively approached by ICE. I think just people that want to avoid turmoil. And I think this is a real unique first-time issue that we as a community need to think about. And I think thinking about it on the day of, it's too late. So I wonder if you guys have thought about it, if you have a plan. It's even under your purview, if other people should be thinking about it. So that's center of my question.
well, it's not really under our purview. There is already a federal law in place that makes it illegal for them to be showing up at polling places, which we may not be aware of.
So I know
There's no state law in place, and there's no municipal law in place in either Pittsburgh or Siler City, to the best of my knowledge. And in Siler, there may be something else. It may be people showing up at the polls with weapons, but that would be more of a legal thing. To the extent that it's our purview, yes, we would be, if there were an issue where we thought ICE was violating federal law, yeah, we would call the sheriff. It may be too late, but that's what law enforcement's for.
Well, I am aware that that's a law, that they can come into polling places. But the 2 points
No, you can go ahead.
the 2 points I was making are that in this unique circumstance, they don't have to come into the polling place to alter people's behavior. So if the intent of the law is to try and encourage people to vote or allow them to vote without any undue duress, I think we have a situation. And I think just saying that the law is there and that's gonna protect us, is really probably not sufficient. Based on what we've seen from the behavior of ICE.
Did you see ICE at any or near any of the polling locations during the primary?
Well, I mean, I didn't examine the polling locations. I went to a polling location. I
I
didn't see
mean,
ICE.
or hear about it?
No. I'm talking about a single situation in November that is not beyond possibility that they would come. And come for other reasons and come claiming to be doing their jobs. But I think, you know, we know that what's going on in our communities right now as far as people concerned about elections and what's going to happen. I think it's a very real possibility that communities think about it.
I did reach out to the state about this and we received guidance. And we were told we were given a number to call the state board, the investigative department, to let them know they were out there. Also, when I spoke to the Siler City Police Chief, he said that ICE, if they're gonna be in a community, they are supposed to let the law enforcement know that they're gonna show up. So I don't know, you know, but I did ask because I thought might be a concern as well.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate that. I appreciate your question, and comment, but I think these are unusual times, and I think we need to be asking these questions because I think these are very real possibilities. Even though all those situations are in place, sheriffs will come, but I think it's very likely to happen.
So let's make just one, then think about this. So we are a county authority charged with counting votes honorably, honestly, accurately, all the stuff that you do. You're talking about voter access, blocking voter access, and threatening by authority figures.
Maybe not directly blocking or directly threatening, but impacting people's behavior.
So we're supposed to have, people supposed to come to the polls, walk in, cast their preference, and leave. And so ICE are federal agents. We have state police, which would be state agents, and we have a sheriff, which is county agents. So I guess if you're planning one plan of conflict, we'd be bringing county agents and state agents against federal agents. Is that what we're talking about? I'm trying to, I mean, I'm the ICE federal marshals.
I mean, I'm not an expert in that. You're asking the wrong person. I'm just, I mean, I would ask you if you were polling place and you heard that half a mile away, ICE had suddenly shown up in the community. How would that impact your behavior?
Well, would you pay attention? I'm a white guy, and so I'm probably made just by generality, I may be less threatened than a brown guy or a black guy or a brown lady or a black lady.
Well, I'm a white guy. I'm probably a little older than 71. Let's say you're 86 and you're a white guy. You're a little frail. You don't want any. I'm very dumb. Well, it would affect your behavior.
Well, what would you have us do? Do you have any suggestions?
I think we should talk about it. I think we need to consider this as a possibility.
I don't think it's our purview, sir. I really, that's a law enforcement purview, and if this is not happening at the polls, close to the polls, right outside of the polls, I don't think it's for us to get involved in.
I think, I agree with Tad that, you know, our area of protection is really right around voting enclosure. We don't even have, if you vote at CCCC or the ag building, and we don't even control the entire parking lot. It's really just that 50 foot plus the curbside voters. But there might be a possibility of adding into our publicity about polling, voting option, that just reminding people that voting by mail is an option if you have any concern about coming to the polls. And I think most people know that, and people vote by mail, but for any reason they can't come to the state. Put that out as a stronger statement.
That's a good idea. If you can do it by the mail, but do it early. Because the mail is a little slower than it used to be. That's a great idea. I don't have all the answers. If the federal government goes crazy with authority, we're gonna be standing toe to toe with federal marshals.
So my point was just to plant a seed, begin to talk about it. That's one suggestion, there's probably other ideas. Thanks.
Thanks very much. Ma'am,
This is my first meeting and I don't know protocol. I wanted to ask this gentleman a question. Is that allowed?
you may briefly, quickly.
Okay, well,
Can you identify yourself?
Oh, okay. I'm Lorelei Schreier. I've lived here for about 14, 15 years, but North Carolina since the 80s. And I just
Are you
wanted
registered
to,
in Chatham County?
yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. I found road. Were you suggesting maybe a citizen escort plan, or did you have any sense of what might be a good idea?
Yeah, maybe I'll just be on camera or.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I have ideas, but I sort of wanted to avoid that because I don't really have, knowledge of protocols and what's legal. One was early voting, mail voting, another was some sort of escort service. It's far enough away so that people say,
That would have nothing to do with us.
yeah, I get it, right, I understand.
Are you talking about like, ICE being down the road from a polling place or actually being at the polling place?
Well, certainly at the polling place, that's not allowed, but if they're 6 blocks away or even half a mile away, if that's on the news, if they just went into some facility, that's gonna affect people's behavior. I mean, I think what ideally should happen is that the community should anticipate this, and there probably should be some anticipatory legal structure put in place. But I'm not a lawyer. I don't know how that goes, but I think it's a real issue. And I think if we have elections and that happens, then we're gonna always be questioning.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you. Are there any further comments from the public? Ma'am?
I'm Sue Griffiths, I'm Army Rover. I wanted to let you know that I did give my input to the state elections regarding, interestingly enough, their concern about citizens, non-citizens voting, which of course we know is illegal. And what I think most of us know is legal. And I let them know that I was deeply concerned, and part of this is based on the coming and watching how you all function, that tax dollars are going, if what they have proposed goes through, tax dollars are being spent on a process that's going to drag all of you in, where we have to chase down someone who is being challenged as whether or not they're a citizen. And there's a whole bunch of specifics about how quickly you have to have hearings and how you notify, of course, only in English, and how fast everything has to happen, and all of these special requirements that these supposed non-citizens have to supply. And I know we're going to talk, I'm going to get to hear you talk about the budget, and I'm aware of how carefully you attention to all of these, what you have to get done within a constraint. And I let the state board of the state Board of Elections know that my expectation would be that when they send a challenge to any of our 100 county boards election, I think that they should be giving a cost estimate to what it's going to cost at the county level as well as at the state level. It should be up within 24 hours on their website, and it should be tracked each time they do one. The cost of that, we should see that rolling up, because as a taxpayer, this is not my greatest concern. I see all of you talking about things that concern me more, about how do we have only places that people can safely get into and out of from a handicap point of view, car traffic, all that sort of thing. I hear you talking about, we have a certain number of polling places. You're interested in maintaining that we continue to have that. And I do have to echo a concern that I hear all the time. I hear people who question whether they will be a midterm. That's deep and it's widespread. And I see all of you attempting to do this, and yet if the state Board of Elections imposes stuff on you, not sure you're going to have many alternatives. So I just wanted to let you know that I've had tried to speak to them directly, and I am appreciative of the thoughtfulness and the thoroughness that you're using to ensure the voters in Chatham County that they have access, that they can vote. And I greatly appreciate that.
Thanks for your comments. Anyone else? Hearing none, we will move on into old business, and our comments on budgets on old business are actually very brief today. Both Pandora and Chatham Ashburn, our deputy director, are going to be meeting with our budget team at the county tomorrow, and there really are no further updates about details until such time as they have met and can give us a progress report. Anything you want to add to that, Pandora?
And then we'll have an update at the next regular meeting, which will be in April.
That being said, we will move into new business, and again, Pandora will take the floor for our director's report.
Okay, so campaign finance, no reports are due until July, so there's no reports due until July. Voter registration statistics, I did break them down by, we have 20,924 Democrats, 30 registered in the Green Party, 305 in Libertarian. Republican, there's 15,015. Unaffiliated, there's 27,605. And the total registered voters as of today is 63,879.
What did you say the unaffiliated was?
27,605. And I know Chance normally gives reports on the list maintenance, monthly list maintenance of how many people were removed since he's not here. But during an election cycle, while we were in the primary, we have to do the duplicates and the deceased and the felons. They are removed daily. That is to make sure that none of these people are voting or if they're living in another county. So after the election cycle over, we'll just go back to checking the deceased and the felons weekly. I'm sorry, it will be weekly. But we check them daily during the election cycle to make sure that none of these people have voted. Currently, I just wanted to give a brief update on what's going on in the office. Staff are currently like packing up documents from the primary election and to store until the shred dates. We are still trying to organize our storage room with new shelving for precinct supplies, which are in the back area. Staff in the upper part of the office has been verifying signatures from 3 petitions. We've had somebody to show intent for an unaffiliated candidate in November, which was James Fogelman. and that was in County Commissioner District 4. Bruce Coble for sheriff, and Garner Weebo for House 54. They all submitted petition sheets. But James Fogelman did not finish getting his signatures. He bowed out, and he is now running. He's filed an intent on Friday to be a qualified write-in for November. And also Bruce Coble for sheriff did the same thing. We were still processing some of his signatures. They both filed a declaration of intent to get on the ballot as qualified write-in. They only have to have 100 signatures, I believe, and the candidate is required to submit the signature sheets no later than 5 p.m. on Tuesday, July the 21st. The county boards have 2 weeks to process those signatures. And petitioner must file the petition and a declaration of intent to the state board by noon on Wednesday, August the 5th, 2026, which is 90 days before the election. And then, of course, they'll, after the state certifies the primary election, then we'll start back registering voters, do voter registration.
Can you hold on a second? I think Frank has a question.
Alderman Coble, and who's the third?
Rebo.
We vote.
He was trying to get on the ballot as an unaffiliated for the fall in District 54.
That's all. But we'll start back registering voters and doing the updates in the voter registration. Yes.
I thought that, since North Carolina District 54 crossed county lines, that the state board of election would be administering. Why are we checking the signatures?
So we always check all signatures regardless of whoever the person is running, even if it was a statewide race. We would still be verifying the signatures that were for Chatham County. Now, we're doing his signatures in Chatham County. He probably has some for Randolph as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, he brings his signatures here. House 54 seat does file in the county. They do file their notice of candidacy in the county. They don't go to the state. Yeah. And of course, I just wanted to give you some important deadlines. April 6th is the deadline for verification of signatures for the unaffiliated petitions. The email that we received from Robert Waldrop about the concerns about the poll workers, I think the board plans to address that at April 21st meeting. And the party chairs have been invited to attend that meeting as well.
Is it the 21st or is it the 14th?
It's the third Tuesday in April. What day is that? I looked at it correctly. I think this is 21st.
The 14th?
No,
It's the 21st.
24,
No, I'm just.
13, 7, 9.
What's the date?
21st. Yeah, it's the 21st.
It's 23.
And that'll be addressed at that meeting. Soil and water conservation filing begins June 8th and it ends July the 6th. Early voting plans for the November election are due July the 24th. The board will discuss at the regular meeting on May 19th and vote on a plan at the June 16th meeting. Correct. Discuss it earlier.
Vote June 16. What happens before June 16?
Discuss it.
Yeah, it's June.
You'll get input probably and discuss how many sites you're gonna have.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we have, the state is having a state conference, which is both staff and board members, August 9th through August 11th. And that's at the Sheraton in Greensboro. And then, of course, we're gonna discuss, I don't know if we'll do this in April meeting or May meeting, but the West Siler City Precinct, which is the active living building that you normally vote at, which we didn't vote at in this primary, is out of precinct. It's in the East Siler City Precinct. So in order to keep that building, we are going to consider moving those lines to encompass that that building, so it will be in the West Side City precinct. I don't think it affect many voters because, only ones it may affect is if there's some in a nursing home, I think up the hill there, which is not that many voters. So that is the, plan. Otherwise, we will have to find another voting site, and that voting site has worked well for us, in the past, and we would like to continue using that. And that's all I have for right now. Yes.
Question about this West Solid City precinct. Is it, public building or private building?
It's a government
Government.
funded building,
Okay.
it's a
Yeah.
county building.
And is that the one that's having construction that we could not use?
Mhm.
Is it gonna be ready for us in November?
Yes.
And so they need to, assure us, or we need to crack the whip or something in that place.
It's supposed to be ready July.
So if they're slow, we need to know, so we go push.
I will check, I will make sure.
It was a good place.
Yeah.
And we were down the street and not quite as nice.
There was an alternative.
Well,
Last
it
minute.
was, kind of emergency maneuvering, but yeah, we were real close.
Okay. We're gonna segue quickly into what we typically do after an election, whether it's a primary or a general or municipal, and do our after action review. And I'll open the floor again for Pandora to give her high level comments, and I expect that a number of board members have some comments as well. So Pandora.
Okay, first of all, I think that the election went, fairly smooth. We didn't have any hiccups other than just some normal little things that we may have left some supplies out of somebody's box and had to take them to them. We didn't have any, voter complaints to my knowledge. If we did, I'm not aware of them. We always have room for improvement, and we have, paid attention and know where we need to make those improvements. I think some of them are with training, right, Sarah? It's just minor tweaks to, assist the poll workers in, feeling more confident about what they're doing. Hopefully we won't have a whole lot of changes before November. Things will stay the same and they can just, we can just reinforce what they've already learned. We didn't have a whole lot of, incident reports. They were not minor incidents. Voter, they didn't click the vote button or, something minor like that, but we didn't have any major issues. I thought the election went well overall. Primary elections are typically low turnout. So, we had 26% turnout, I believe. So that's kind of normal, but it was higher than the last one, I think. But that's all I have.
I'm sure I expect board members may have comments about what they observed and what they experienced, both in the early voting as well as election day. Any comments? I was going to say we're uncharacteristically silent.
Yeah. I enjoyed visiting the polls, and I appreciated the work that the election workers are doing. That's probably more difficult when you're not busy, to stay awake and to focus. A lot of good cooks in Chatham County because I was offered food every time I walked into polling location. I would have to say that most of us are not used to getting up at 4 a.m. And people who do and get to the polls in time to open up are to be commended, I think. I didn't see any problems. In the last election, I think there was some, shall we say, aggressive poll breeding. I was concerned and tried to observe that, and I didn't see it this time, and I'm grateful for that. The judges, just for those of you who don't know, do not have control over what's going on in the parking lot. And, the parties would need to manage that, or the organizations who are out there, and the candidates who, I didn't see many, well, I saw some candidates. That's not good. Any aggressive actions, blocking sidewalks, taking pictures of voters, or things that can be intimidating. The chief judge can not do much because they're also busy inside the voting enclosure, making sure everything there is going correctly. I didn't see much of that. I expect it might be a little more heated in November. But I would agree to Director Pascal that things went pretty smooth from what I could tell.
Any other members have comments? Boyd?
I would third, I guess, second or third. That the election generally went very well. I inquired of several poll workers as I went around whether they felt that the training had been adequate, because I know that the election protocol is changing all the time, and they're constantly having to learn sort of new steps and, you know, new changes to their computer program and so forth. And everybody said the training was excellent, and that they felt very well prepared. And, you know, I sat in on some of these trainings and I thought, how could they ever be very well prepared? There's just too much information, but evidently it worked well for them, and it certainly helps with their experience. So you have many people that have done it before, and I got the impression that a lot of the seasoned poll workers were providing a lot of assistance at the beginning of each day to help the new poll workers get on board. And so I just thought that was great. The one thing I noticed in some of the incident reports was that to the extent that chain of custody is important, which it is, it seems like there are some poll workers that maybe in the need of getting everything done are neglecting signatures. They're not always writing down the numbers of the
Seals.
seals, you know, that there are gaps. And if there was ever any question about whether there's a question about the integrity of the election, somebody could point to the seals and say, you know, where's the seal number? So I hope we can get better on that.
I agree with what the others have been saying. It seems like a well-conducted election. All the polling places, the poll workers seem to know what they were doing. They're pleasant and are getting along with each other and with the voters. I didn't see anything but good things in all of the polls patients that so I agree with you that some of the paperwork and seals being recorded and so on was a little spotty in several precincts. So that
Frank?
So I'll just comment, I had the seals, which that's already been discussed, the signatures. I want to comment to the buildings here. These elections are, I call them messy. Dealing with humans can be complicated. And so I've got here, one of the things I saw on the incident reports was it's people changing their mind, and Democrat voting and desiring a Republican ballot, or then vice versa, a Republican saying, no, I want to change my mind and do a Democratic ballot. So human nature comes with changing your mind, which our people had to deal with. It's just complicated voters sometimes. And then I'll make, the only other comment I'll make is under the category of tabulator and electronic machines, we had some scanner jams, some printer jams, and that may come with the territory. I mean, that's maybe it's part and parcel of 18 voting sites, more than 18 printers, and all these electronics. So it's never going to be perfect. I think it was pretty good. And the other thing that I think is very powerful, we've got the public here and we're hanging out our dirty laundry. You don't see this in Venezuela or China, what we're doing right now. And I think this is our strength rather than this is America's strength.
You don't say it in the Senate. Sorry, I'm not allowed to. So I would just say, I visited all the early voting sites, most of them on multiple occasions. I visited, half the precincts on election day. I will compliment Sarah and say that everybody I asked, and I asked this question repeatedly, that training was excellent and they really did feel well prepared. So kudos to you for that. Kudos to them for paying attention. Everything was running smoothly at every site I visited. And one of the things that I'd like to compliment, this is not only training issue, but it's the chief judges who are really good at cross-training their teams on site so that people can rotate from function to function and feel like they're qualified and they can do it with some level of facility. And that seemed to have really taken everywhere I went. I would also say that to the extent that there were equipment issues, Marvin, you handled them really quickly. Everybody loves it when you come out and handle their problems. And overall, the level of pandemonium here on election night was much less than it was the previous time around. So processes have been improved and everything runs a lot smoother. And I would just say everybody did a really good job. The levels of problems, they were minor. The kinds of glitches that Frank and Lori have just discussed, they're more procedural, but they're not systematic and they don't seem to be material. So kudos to everybody for running a very smooth election. Thank you very much.
I alluded to this before, but I was impressed by, how much information and knowledge and expertise the seasoned poll workers bring to each election site. There was a problem, and I've now forgotten whether it was in Crossroads or whether it was in Bennett, where. I've not forgotten the whole thing. They, things were not working. There was a machine that wasn't working or something. And one of the poll workers figured it out. They were waiting for Marvin. He hadn't gotten there yet, and they just solved it themselves. I had no idea how they did it. I kind of wondered whether they, taken a hammer and knocked on it. But man, it's just
It
great.
probably came back to them.
Well,
Yeah.
but somebody that's brain dead just would not be able to handle that situation. And having those people that come back year after year, and are training new people as they go, just helps ensure that the elections are going to continue to go well.
Yeah.
Great. Moving on, we've already discussed this, Pandora has discussed it at some length in her director's report, but as everybody is probably aware, and board members certainly are, given what was contained in our packet for today, we had 3 candidates who are wanting to run as unaffiliated in their various races. And there are specific rules under the North Carolina general statutes, but there are some very detailed rules in the North Carolina Administrative Code that talk about how those processes are supposed to work, how signatures are supposed to be gathered, the extent or the detail that staff goes into in terms of verifying folks who are purportedly signing these petitions. And I know that we have in all 3 cases, the petitioner trying to run as unaffiliated is either dropping out or doesn't have enough verified signatures, or in 2 cases are going to be running as write-ins because they didn't get sufficient signatures. And Pandora, I would just ask you to, at a high level, go through some of what we do in terms of running that process for candidates who are petitioning to run as unaffiliated, and how that works, and what those processes and procedures are.
Okay. So first of all, when someone comes in who say that they would like to run on a petition, they can fill out the intent form at that particular time, or they can fill it out once they get their signatures. But we provide them with signature sheets And those sheets, when we give them to them, it has the petition on it. Now, they can make copies if they choose to, and how, it's up to them how they go about getting their signatures. But they are to gather their signatures, and we ask them, once they start to gather those signatures, don't wait and bring them all back at once. They are to bring us signatures as they gather them, so we can go ahead and start researching them to, so they will know too how many verified signatures that they will have. And so they can have enough, they're supposed to be turned in. The unaffiliated petitions were due back in the office, the signature sheets, on election day by 12 noon. So we did get, most of the sheets back. We're still working on a couple. But, they have a certain percentage of the registered voters as to how many signatures that they are supposed to have. And we figure that out for them here, and we let them know how many that they are supposed to have, depending upon which office they're running for and how many people, if they're doing the whole county, because our county votes as a whole and not divided in the districts other than we have one congressional district that's split. So, but the other, like the commissioners, they have to live in the district, but the whole county votes for them. So we count the whole county whenever they have to get those signatures. So when the signatures come back in, we get the signatures, we go through the signatures to make sure that, first of all, we have to count the pages and we do them in batches. So the first set you send, that'll be your batch 1, batch 2, batch 3, all up like that. And then we go through the signatures, which, the state provides us with this sheet, and this is how the sheet looks. And the candidate, wherever they put the sheets, the voters are supposed to print their name, put their residential address with their zip code, their date of birth. Also, they are supposed to sign it, the voter themselves. Also, the person who's filling out the petition is supposed to sign it. Now, somebody can't write. They can have somebody else write their information in it, but of course they can sign it or they can put their mark, which most of the time, if they can't sign, they put an X. And most of the time, we will have the voters' signatures on file because we can see them in our database. And so we look to see if that person's name on that list, if they are registered to vote in Chatham County. If we can read it legibly, we can see that most of the time. We can pull them up by the name, by the address. If the address is different, as long as it's in Chatham County, we can make the address update, but we will count the signature because the address is in Chatham County. Now, if they don't provide the date of birth and something else is missing and we can't verify for certain that this is the voter, we may reject the signature based on the information that we have. Now, sometimes we'll get a date of birth, it's jumbled up. That's not the date of birth we have in the system. So we can't go by, we have what you provided and we have what you provided here. So we don't know if that's the actual correct voter, based on the voter registration that we have in the system. But that, we go through that with every signature. Sometimes it is illegible because they don't write it plain. They may write in cursive and you can't figure out what it is. If there's not a date of birth, we can't pull them up by the date of birth. Sometimes the address, if it's not correct, we can't pull them up by that. So the signature is not verified. So we just don't throw out signatures. Actually, staff spend a lot of time trying to figure out who these people are and if they're actually registered. I think I heard Sarah say she spent about 10 minutes on one, trying to get the signature to make sure that it was not a verified signature. So it's a long, drawn out process. It takes time and we are diligent when we do it. And also people can't just give out the sheets and somebody write down the names and have somebody else sign it. The voter is supposed to sign that sheet. And anybody can sign the petition sheet as long as you're a registered voter in the county. And the petitioner is also responsible, say for instance, if they are in House 54, they know they have some people in Randolph County, they have some people in Chatham County. They are responsible for separating those sheets. and getting them to the right county. We are not responsible for that. That candidate, that person that's intending to get on the ballot is responsible for that. But that is the process. And then once they get all their signatures, we will verify them, we'll send them letters and let them know how many they have. And if they get the right number of signatures they have, we qualify the petition. And then their name can get on the ballot. But if it's not, if they don't meet the right number of signatures, then of course they are not no longer in the running to get on the ballot. But that's pretty much, do I leave anything out?
No.
Could you explain that there's one set of numbers for how many, you need a certain number of signatures to be a write-in candidate, and the different rules for.
There's another set for, just like for a write-in, if you want to get on the ballot, if you're a qualified write-in, you only need like 100 signatures. But if you're doing unaffiliated, it's like 4% of the registered voters. And approximately it was 27 for the House 54, 2,700. And then, how many?
2,788.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Christina. How many was it for the sheriff? The same thing? Okay, all right, so that's how many.
That's about.
Will you know whether the District 54 honor people?
We still have a couple of sheets to process, right? We didn't finish those today. We have one batch left to go through. Yeah. But they should finish that probably this week.
So a qualified write-in on the ballot, it says they have to,
The voter has to write their name.
so the voter will not see the name of that qualified write-in, but they can be told by somebody that if they write that name down, it will be counted.
The candidate can campaign.
Yeah.
They vote, for you don't have to write my name on the ballot. We had that in the municipal election, Travis Patterson. And he got a lot of votes doing the writing. Yeah, he didn't win. But yeah, that's what the two now are doing, I'm intending to do a write-in, and that's Mr. Fogelman and also Mr. Cole.
Any other comments? Frank?
So I'd like to come in from 30,000 feet and just comment about what Ms. Pascal just talked about. And I'm going to try to be careful about what I say. But this body received criticism over the weekend for unaffiliated petitions. And it was not nice. And so what I'm going to say is that this Board of Election provides service for this county and the state. And we're charged to have uniform standards, minimum standards, according to the law or statute that establishes standards for entry of candidates to stand on the ballot. Now that I've said that, we're referees, so we take care of Democrats and Republicans, and we're supposed to take care of unaffiliated on a level playing field. So we're supposed to do what's called fair, free, and accurate elections. The fair part is candidate access. You got to be fair to the candidates, and that's what Ms. Pascal's talking about. Now, I'll just say that the candidates have to meet certain minimum qualifications, including residency status, age status, and registration status, the same as all of us sitting in this room. If you're going to run for sheriff or any other local post. And so a petition, I think, would be considered direct democracy, which is the people putting up someone for candidacy, not the party chairs, right? Just the people. But you got to meet a minimum number, which has been described here. So the signatures are supposed now we go to the direct democracy. We're going from the candidate now to the direct democracy part, which is 2,700 something signatures. Is that right? And these signatures have to have a reasonable resemblance to what we have on file. And they have to be registered voters in the jurisdiction that the candidate's being proposed. And these signatories have to be residents. And so for all these reasons, they can't be outside the district. They can't be from Charlotte. You can't pack the signature line with duplicates and someone sign it 3 times, 3 different ways. Because this is an investigation that's happening that Ms. Pascal just outlined. And that's, and so I want people to understand they're putting a lot of effort to maintain minimum standards for candidates and strive to prevent signature fraud, massage, whatever you would want to call it. So I'll stop at that point.
I would just at a high level say, number one, we don't make the rules in terms of petitioners and the process. Our job is to follow the rules and all the members of the board would agree. Top to bottom, we run a pretty tight ship around here. And that's all I'll say about it.
And for anybody who is interested, off of our website, we have a link to where you can see what's needed for the petitions. There's the 08 North Carolina Administrative Code, which is chapter 22. There's also fact sheets where it lays out every answer to any question that any petitioner may have. And any citizen who want to find out the information about how the process works, it's there for them to see.
And there's a very helpful unaffiliated candidate petition guide that's been published by the Forsyth County Board of Elections. It deals really with, it doesn't deal with the write-in issues, it deals only with unaffiliated, trying to get on the ballot as an unaffiliated, but it's pretty precise and pretty helpful. That said, are there any other issues that anybody on the board wants to discuss under the category of additional or other election information? Hearing none, do we have a motion to adjourn?
Move adjourn.
I second. All in favor? Let's do it.
Thank you.